This meeting is being broadcast and recorded by Milford TV, and any copies can be obtained at the request of this board or through the central office. All right, everybody. Meeting's adjourned. Adjourned.
I was like, wow,
I'm like, wow, that's quick. Yeah.
Great.
Right, let's open the meeting. So, 7 o'clock. So the first line, all the retirees. So, Craig, why don't you take that one off?
Sure, why don't Ann, John, and Sandy come on up. Have a seat. One of the spots. You're on the. It's your last role, I guess, in Milford Public Schools. So we're going to start with you, Sandy. Tell us about yourself. How long have you been here?
I've been here for 31 years.
Wow.
31 years. All Milford High School?
No, 26 years here at Milford High. I subbed. I taught 3rd grade in Northbridge before I came here, and 5th grade in Framingham. I was all over the place.
And so I don't know, what has it been, 20 plus years that I've known you?
I've known you for 20, yeah.
In the role of special ed, right?
Well, and in the role of parenting too.
Yes. Our kids went to the same
Same daycare.
child care place. So a long time. Congratulations.
Long time. Special educator here.
Yeah.
Early childhood prior to that,
Awesome.
and middle school. A little bit of everything
Well,
till I
thank you.
found my place here.
I appreciate your service, so thank you.
Thank you. This was a wonderful place to work and fantastic people. And I'll be back to sub and so
Awesome,
forth.
good.
I can't separate myself right away.
Well, that's excellent. You set the bar really high. John, you're next.
Thank you. My name is John Mitchell. I've been with Milford Public Schools, Milford High School for 12 years now. I was a mid-career change. So being a teacher here in this building was the fulfillment of a lifelong dream of mine. There were 12 glorious years. I loved every minute I spent in this building. Mornings were my favorite time. I used to get in early, thanks to Josh helping me out with the passes. I was able to get in anytime I needed, but it was just a wonderful experience. I just wanted to say this much, that the people that work in this building are very special. I made some lifelong friendships while I was here, and it was an honor and a privilege to have served this community.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Social studies.
All of it history, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What contents did you cover while you were here?
Yeah, I covered World Studies too, until they changed the pathway. So I taught freshmen for many years. I love teaching freshmen. They're just full of idealism, coming up from middle school. And so I probably would have taught that class for the rest of my 12 years. But when they changed the pathway, I went into a US2 role, and at least temporarily until we had a contemporary world issues curriculum go online for the last 3 years. And I did 5 blocks of contemporary world issues for the last 3 years, and I loved every minute of that. So, yeah.
Great. Well, I hope that you'll follow Sandy's lead and sign up for subbing, so we can have you work every single day.
Absolutely, I will definitely look forward to that.
Right.
Count
The
me in.
middle school, I believe, is hiring, right? Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Ann.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for inviting me tonight. I've had 19 years at Boston Public Schools as a 3rd grade teacher and 14 years here at Woodland Elementary School. And I even got to sign my name on the steel beam when the new building
we
went
did.
up, so I will always be a part of Woodland. It has offered me so many opportunities. The largest one is being able to go to China and represent Milford. And I was able to work with 7th graders and 12th graders and helping them get ready for college and do interviews. And then I got to teach the professional development to over 100 teachers there. And all they told me was, you just need to come and talk with us and hang out. I didn't know it was going to turn into what it did. So social studies I taught to the 7th graders. And it was a wonderful opportunity. And I felt like I've, forged so many friendships, not just at Woodland, but across the district, which is what's so great about Milford. I mean, it truly is a community. and we're able to interact. And I've had you as a principal, and that was special, right?
Tell us more.
It's really great, though. It's just so wonderful. And when I thought about it, I said, I've affected over 1,000 students in my
Wow.
career.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'll take all those memories with
Probably
me.
more than that, too.
And the kids always ask me, like, what do you like best about teaching? And I always immediately come back with the children. You know, their random acts of kindness and their outlook on different important topics and their creativity. And it's like every day, it's just like I'm wowed by them. You know, and being able to do the research with all the technology we're provided really helped immensely with their learning.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it's been an honor, really has. I've enjoyed this community. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So let's open up for comment. Meg, you go first.
Oh, sure. Thanks, Michael.
No problem.
Thank you all for coming here. I really appreciate it. I know once you've retired, it's probably you're ready to go do other things. So thank you for taking the time to come back and speak with us. I think we should do that math on all of our retirees because I think about when you think about the number of lives that you've impacted, it's just amazing. So I hope you take all those memories with you. I love that you use the word community because I truly believe that's one thing that makes Milford so unique. This is the first meeting after 7 years. I can say I have a high school graduate of Milford, and I can tell you that the people that are in these buildings make such a difference in all their lives. And so
Yeah.
just thank you for all the work that you've done and the impact that you've had. Enjoy retirement.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'll echo that. A lot of relationships, a lot of friendships, a lot of community building.
Yeah.
Appreciate all the work you've done. Having any special events coming up? Anything to celebrate?
Well, I'll jump in here on that one. So the 4th of July is my birthday,
Oh, awesome.
and so I turned 60, so that's kind of a milestone. And my wife and I and several of our friends from college are all getting together for a reunion in Tanglewood to see James Taylor on the 4th of
Cool.
July.
No, that's pretty
Nice,
cool.
Nice.
We're looking forward to that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My husband and I booked a trip to Greece,
Oh,
and
right.
it's in October. I have never traveled in October, so
That's funny.
pushing that button for the flight, I was like, I can't do it.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem right, but we're looking forward to that a lot.
Awesome.
My daughter has booked a trip for me for my retirement. And we're going to Germany and Italy in October as well.
Oh, fantastic.
Fantastic.
That's
Great.
Looking forward to that and spending time with my first grandchild in September.
Sounds wonderful.
Awesome.
And she lives in Brooklyn, New York, so that's travel. And I'll enjoy that.
Brendan.
Thank you guys. I mean, it's amazing that you've dedicated, a large portion of your life to educating the children of this district. I think it's incredibly special. I think all of us in this room have a call to the community, so I really appreciate your commitment to it and enjoy your long and healthy retirement.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. My wife is a high school teacher, Milford. And so it's interesting. She used to teach freshmen and then seniors, and she loved it. She loved the freshmen and then seniors because she could see the growth between the 4 years.
Yeah.
And so, and my daughter's in Woodland, and it's just nice to see her career and journey through our school system. So thank you.
Yeah.
I don't know. I really don't know what to say because I'm happy for all three of you. I'm happy for all of our retirees, but I don't know, like it said also that it's just I think about all that you all have done and for our community, and it's I get a sense of loss, I guess, that other kids won't have that from you three anyways. But I do look forward to also the time when I can book a trip in October. I've never done it yet. So thank you.
Well, thank you for coming
very
tonight.
much.
Yeah. Round of applause. All right. Is there anything else for the retirees?
They can stay as long as they want.
Yeah, you can stay here for the whole meeting if you want.
And on that
They don't
note,
have anywhere to be tomorrow.
Go book more vacations.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. You can tell what teachers were pushing in on.
Any announcements, correspondence, or distributions? You got anything, Craig?
I do not.
Okay. I don't think anybody's here for invitation to speak. All right. No chairperson update. So let's roll into the handbook and school improvement plan. We have Stacy first.
That was fast.
Yeah. Good news. The committee reviewed it ahead of time.
Oh, wow.
So-
So you're ready with all the
So
questions.
the plan is to keep it like at a highlight level, and let's run through it.
All right. Well, good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for having us. Don't get nervous. I just have a lot of papers because that's what I do. So just to quickly, do you want me to do handbook first? We pause and then do the...
However you feel the flow goes.
Sure.
Yeah.
All right, so for our handbook, most changes are minor, reflective to day-to-day, names, years, page numbers. We did change the font, we added page numbers because there weren't any before. So minor changes like that. There are a few major changes. For example, we changed teacher detention times from 2:10 to 2:35. We changed that to 2:20 to 2:50 because teachers are still teaching at 2:10, so they can't be at detention.
Good catch.
We removed the online payments for food service. That's because we no longer have to do payments for food services. So that was removed, and we changed the language from free and reduced lunch to universal free school meals, which will just read that all of our students are eligible to receive free breakfast and lunch every day. No applications or income requirements are needed. These nutritious meals are available to every student to support learning and well-being. We encourage all students to take advantage of this program. So it completely removes just the language around how to apply for free and reduced lunch and just talks about what the universal free school meals looks like. We also changed the summer school prices because they change every year. So we changed that to $250 for residents of Milford and to $300 for who are not residents of Milford. Then we also changed our advisory. It used to say that we were meeting once a month because that's what we were doing. However, we are now dedicating on a weekly basis a SOAR block, which is going to be a dedicated period to designed to empower students with tools, strategies, and support needed to achieve academic excellence. This structured time provides individualized guidance and skill-building opportunities that enhance learning effectiveness across all subject areas. And those are the major changes.
Any questions so far? I do have a quick question.
Mhm.
This summer school prices, what do people pay for? Do we pay for summer school if a kid comes?
Do we?
So, sorry, when a student comes to summer school, for whatever reason, do they pay?
Yes.
Okay, that's new to me. Okay. Any other questions? No? All right, keep going.
Great. All right. So the next one is our school improvement
Sorry,
plan.
you totally done with the handbook? Can I ask?
Oh, yes.
Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I know that we have some guidance in our high school handbook, Cardon, around artificial intelligence, which I would think is just a glaring important topic. I was just curious if that's something that we've considered adding to Stacy. And I had a conversation with someone in another state that was talking about their third grader leveraging ChatGPT for an assignment, and I'm thinking, oh wow, we really, we're all adapting and using technology. I was curious if that is a policy that we want to think about either as a district or that Stacy would want to contemplate incorporating just for consideration.
Yeah, I'm happy to incorporate it. I thought we were working on something district-wide.
There is.
That's why
So that's
I
a
didn't.
future
Yes.
policy
There is.
subcommittee. Perfect.
It's
Great.
already
That's why I
Thank you.
didn't add it to
Yep.
Stacy's. But if it's something that's going to be in the far future and we want something that is in the near future, I'm happy to draft something that we
Where-
can add to our academic honesty piece.
Yeah, and I think that's where it belongs for now.
Mhm.
However, Tim has been creating something. There is also some legislation that's happening at the state level that we're kind of waiting on guidance from.
Okay.
So that's sort of where we are right
Okay.
now. With that.
Thank you.
Should I
Thanks,
add
Carter.
some type of language in our academic dishonesty piece that incorporates
yes.
AI? Okay, no problem.
Thank you.
Keep going.
Okay.
Any other questions? No?
So our school improvement plan, we revised and enhanced it from last year. So last year we presented a 3-year plan, and we're still continuing the 3-year plan. However, we just looked at it and made it a little more specific, measurable, and added targets and timelines. So for example, you'll see that the first goal last year, the goal was all students and staff and students will have access to high quality instructional materials. Whereas this year, we changed that language to say, by June 2027, Stacy Middle School will achieve 90% fidelity in implementation of high quality instructional materials as measured by classroom observations, learning walks, teacher surveys, and student performance data with incremental progress benchmarks of 60% by June 2025 and 75% by June 2026. So all the goals that we presented last year are the same as this year. They're just enhanced and measurable and specific. So I'll quickly talk about what each goal looks like and where we've seen some accomplishments and where we're gonna go next. So our first goal, as I mentioned, is high quality instructional materials and implementation, where our goal was to see 60% by June 2025, and we did exceed that, where we saw 90% in ELA reading and 75% in math. Our focus will now be really looking at our English language learners program and increasing that implementation there, and then looking at our other core contents to see what that looks like. Some of our key accomplishments are really completed comprehensive professional development across for all literacy teachers and for all math teachers, and we developed grade level curriculum documents and pacing guides for ELA reading, math, and English language learners program. We also collected baseline data, which I'm sure you guys have all reviewed, so I'm not going to talk about every single piece that we looked at, but this data is what led us to be able to really look at the goal and make it more specific and measurable. Our second goal
Can I
is...
ask one question on that?
Yeah.
Could you just speak like 2 bullets, sort of how did Amplify go and kind of what was the general?
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
know it's a challenge, so
Meg.
I'll start with that. I appreciate that. I'm just curious kind of what the reception was, or...
I think Amplify went very well.
It's intense.
And
from a user standpoint, the feedback I received
I
from
think
students.
that is the feedback I can give, that it was intense.
Okay, yeah.
I would say that towards the end of the school year, when teachers were more comfortable with the platform, then they were more comfortable at saying, okay, this is going to be a platform that we use, or this is going to be an assignment that we do online, this is going to be offline, and really going back and forth between what's going to be online and what's going to be paper-based. And I think that was like, at the beginning of the school year, what really was stressing everyone out is just how much of the work was online and not knowing how to bring it offline. But I think we're in a good place now of knowing which pieces we're going to take offline and do on paper-based.
Awesome, thank you.
Yeah.
What do you think that percentage is online versus kind of tactical?
So you can do all of it offline, but we were encouraged to do it all online. So I would say teachers did the majority of it online.
Okay.
If I had to say a percentage, I would say it was probably more like 80 to 85% of the work was done online.
And is that going to be the kind of the future is to keep it online, or is there going to be any movement to do anything paper-based?
I think we're still going to keep it hybrid, where some assignments are going to be focused on what students are doing on paper, what written assignments look like, which reading assignments are going to be a novel, and then responses on their physical book, and then keeping some of it online as well.
Right, thank you. Brendan?
For goal number 1, do you have any, the one that we're talking about now, do you have any additional budget asks that you are foreseeing in the future to get to the...
I love that question,
because I'm just thinking about that already, and I would love to know what your thoughts are.
So as of right now, because our Gleam grant has really taken on the literacy piece of it, we aren't asking for those funds, but it'll be similar to what we did with IM, where we eventually absorb those funds. When we did IM, and Carrie, correct me if I'm right, the grant was maybe like $40,000, and then we absorbed that into our budget.
Okay.
So I'm assuming that's going to look similar to what we did with math.
Thank you.
So look forward to that.
Yes. Well, the only reason I asked is because I love these goals and I want you to achieve them. When we see the the ask, in January, just make sure to highlight like, hey, this is part of my goal.
I will do
Well,
that.
I also think that on top of the material ask, what our grants give us that we don't have funded after the fact is the professional development
Yes.
that the teachers get. We use TNTP for this grant, and I think that the coaching that the teachers get through TNTP is critical to the success of the implementation of the program. If we didn't have it, we definitely would have mixed reviews with how Amplify is being rolled out. So that's the part that I think we really have to sit down and figure out what's going to be the plan when this TNTP walks away. How are we going to make sure that we're supporting the teachers?
Which is when, Greg?
What's that?
Which is when?
I think we have it for another year, right? No, this year?
Gleam at Stacy ended on June 30th.
So this year, yeah. So we got to figure that out. I thought we had
I
support.
thought we have support
Yeah.
for the upcoming year. It just won't be Chris anymore. And then I thought that we were done with Amy.
Yeah.
In June.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amy is TNTP for math. Amy's definitely done June 30th.
Yeah.
I think we're a year behind in math, in ELA.
Mhm. Correct.
But obviously, I think that we all know this, that Carol's attention is going to be in the elementary school, so it's going to be hard for her. She was spending every Friday over at Stacy, working with teachers in their meetings, in their common planning time meetings. I don't know how she's going to do that this year when she's trying to roll it out down at the elementary. So we're going to lean, I think, on Alyssa Holland, our instructional coach.
Yeah.
But she's also being pulled in a million directions too. So.
I also just think the other thing to name when we have these consultants come in, like they're providing our teachers with the support, but they're also providing our instructional coach with the support. They're also providing our building-based administration with support and district administration from support, so that it's an outside view of what we're seeing in classrooms and where we should be kind of pushing and pulling. And I think it, like at least for myself, it checks my like biases of which are the high-quality teachers and where do we need to kind of push and go. So it's important that we continue to find the funds to get this professional development and consulting, because it pushes instructional practices in the classroom, but I also think it helps building administration and leadership and central office leadership to push instructional practices as well.
So I'll make sure that I highlight
Yes,
that
please.
in January when I
appreciate
request
that.
funds for professional development.
Thank you so much.
Of course.
That's all I got.
All right. So our second goal is focus on equitable and culturally responsive practices and high quality instruction. And again, similar to what I had mentioned, we've revamped it to be measurable. So 90% of instructional staff will effectively implement culturally responsive teaching practices and high quality instructional strategies, including co-teaching models, as evidenced by a 15% increase in student achievement across all demographic groups and a 20% increase in student engagement as measured by surveys, which one of the ones that we use is our SQM, and classroom observations or learning walks. Some of the key highlights or achievements is that we have completed our professional development with Dr. Shiraki Hawley, and we've established a 11-member cadre that has been working on both implementing some of the strategies and protocols that the program has taught, but also they've been leading workshops for teachers to teach them about some of these strategies and supporting. So even though the cadre is of 11 members, we have tried to provide opportunities for other staff to join and be a part of those experiences as well. Another something else that we noticed is that our co-teaching partnerships have been effective, specifically in our English language learners programs, and then we'll look at what special education looks like next year and focus there.
Any questions? Nope.
Okay, and then goal number 3 looks at student support services. So we're looking at MTSS and attendance. And we're looking at reducing chronic absenteeism from 19.5% to 10%. I know that's ambitious, but work with me. And increase the overall attendance rate from 93.6 to 96%, and still fully implement a comprehensive MTSS framework with 95% fidelity as measured by program audits and attendance tracking data. Some of the highlights that we've had there is that we have established a MTSS team that meets weekly. We are in the early stages of that, looking at what does that look like and supporting our staff around when those forms are filled out. And we have also reduced our grade 5 chronic absenteeism from 50% to 40%, which is our students who are in the Milestones program, our separate program. So it's actually a great success to see that they are coming to school with more frequency. And then overall chronic absenteeism rate went from 19.5% to 16.5%. So again, I know that the 10% seems ambitious, but based on the growth that we've seen in 1 year, I think it's something that we can get to by June 2025. Yeah, I think that that's really it for my goals. Year 1 was really foundational. We were trying to, gather some baseline data, really look at where we're at and where we need to be and where some of the gaps are. So we're really looking at year 2 as an acceleration year and start thinking about what are some of those moves that we need to make to start pushing it forward in bigger buckets versus kind of like the smaller content areas or smaller buckets that we've been doing. And then we're hoping that by year 3, we've met mastery, which is fully achieving all of our goals that we have just shared today.
Questions? Meg?
Just a quick one, Carla, on the attendance. And I'm totally understanding there's no magic bullet. Do you feel like there were certain things that were done this year that were really effective? I'm just curious.
Yes, and I'll let Rachel speak to that because I know her and the other assistant principals met with our attendance supervisors
Right.
monthly. So I'll
But
let
actually,
you.
yeah, we met formally monthly, but almost weekly
Wow.
because we were focusing on small pods of children per grade, inviting families in, going out, speaking to families. I think when you bridge the gap between school and home, families are more comfortable explaining what it is. That's difficult. The attendance supervisors are great with helping us with students who sometimes it's as simple as it's raining and I walk too far.
Sure.
So they're really supportive with families when it's a need like that, or maybe a parent has a really young child at home and they're not comfortable with the distance their older child walks, so they're walking them. So in the bad weather, they're not
Sure.
doing it. So sometimes it's transportation. When you find out the need, or even when they think there's just a super friendly face on the other side of the doors, it brings the students in.
Great.
Lots and lots of contact with families.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Brandon?
Yeah, I actually had a question on that too. Given what happened very recently, do any families and or students feel unsafe coming to school for things that are happening a little bit more globally or nationally?
I believe that students feel safe once they're in school.
Okay.
I think it's the travel piece of it that they're feeling unsafe with. But I feel confident saying that once they're in school, they feel safe.
Yeah.
Do you need any support from the either school committee and or administration to convey to parents and students to feel more safe in that process of getting them to school? Like, what can we do to give them that confidence to get here? Because I don't want that to be a barrier for students to not come to school.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say 2 points. I think parents are more reluctant to come to school.
Okay.
So we've shifted a lot to a Zoom meeting.
Okay.
They'll be on their phone or just a phone call with FRC
Sure.
doing some of our interpretation. That definitely we've been just saying it's okay.
Yeah.
A meeting's a meeting, whether we're in person or we're on the phone. It's okay. The students,
I would say I think yes, once they're in the building, and we've had lots of support and from central office, being able to communicate with students and families to say like, who do you need to talk to? How
Yeah.
can we help you feel safe? What can we do to support you? We have SEL monthly themes that were shifted a lot the end of the school year, and we're really about like how do we make a safe and inclusive environment for all? How do we ensure that we're all being respectful of one another? And, so they stuck with the themes that we've had, but also just kind of emphasize the fact of, like, we want you all to be here at school, and we're going to do whatever we can to make sure you feel safe once you are through our buildings.
Yeah, and we open the offices. There's no doors that are shut. I think when the students come in emotionally dysregulated, they just need to connect with someone they know and trust. The 8th grade would land in my office, sometimes 3, 4 at a time, sometimes 1 for an hour, whatever it was that they needed, because once they're, settled, can I go to class now? And they just need to know that whoever their trusted adult is there. It's really as simple as that.
Yeah.
That's all it takes, yeah.
Validate and acknowledge their
Yeah.
emotions.
Thank you.
Great, thanks.
Can I make
Thank
a
you.
motion for the safety handbook
You
as
can- of course you can.
presented and school improvement plan with potential addition of some AI language in the
Great.
handbook?
We have a motion, we have a second.
Second.
Second by Brennan, all in favor? Unanimous, motion passes. Thank you.
Great, great. Thank you so much.
Craig, you're taking minutes, right?
Yes.
Yeah. It just dawned on me. I was like, wait a minute. Okay.
Thank you, have a good summer.
Have a great
Melissa.
summer.
Thank you, you too.
It is also recorded too. So.
Melissa's gonna do notes,
Okay, good.
but I have my own little notes. Yes.
Thanks. All right, as long as.
Have a good night.
Thanks.
Good night. Bye.
Come on.
Thank you. Good evening, folks. I'd like to have my colleague Ben Liberto join us for the first part of our proposed handbook changes tonight. I'll explain why in just a moment. For those of you that don't know Ben, he's a veteran social studies teacher here at Milford High School. I'd like to start off with the proposed handbook changes, and then we'll get to the school improvement plan. So I'd like to start off with the proposed change to the grading policy, so we can wrap that up and get Ben on his way, if that's all right.
Sure.
So I want to sort of talk briefly about what the change is. I'd like to then invite Ben to talk a little bit about the impetus behind the change and the rationale behind the change, because Ben was one of a number of faculty members who had advocated for the change and served on a subcommittee who proposed the change. And then I'd like to share with the committee a little bit of some highlights of the deliberations that happened within our School Improvement Council, who ultimately did vote in favor of these changes to bring to the school committee. So the changes are that the required number of assessments per term would be reduced from 4 to 3, and for the 4th term in seniors it would go from 3 to 2. And we would also make an adjustment to the maximum weight per assessment, whereby no single assessment may count for more than 30% of the term grade, and it used to be 20% of the term grade. And in the 4th term for seniors, no single assessment may count for more than 40% of the term grade. The sentences where you see the strike through in the last segment there, this is not a substantive change. I think this is just, I think these were lines that cause confusion that I think by taking them out, it's bringing some more clarity to the policy, so it's not substantive. So again, just to repeat, we're talking about reducing the minimum number of assessments per term and increasing the maximum weight for a single assessment in a term. So with that, let me give Ben an opportunity to share a little bit about, again, where this came from and the rationale from the teacher's perspective for proposing this change, and then I'd like to share some of the deliberations that happened at our council.
All right, thank you. So a number of teachers came to me, I'm one of the union representatives at the high school, saying that they felt that under the current schedule and the current model, getting 4 assessments in a term was a stretch. We have 180 days in the school year, obviously, but then once you take away the final exam period, the mid-year exam period, the 2 orientation days, the course recommendation day, we're down to 168. Divide that by 4, you're looking at 42 days per term, give or take. Each class meets 4 days out of our 5-day cycle, so really a class meets approximately like 33, 34 days a term. So if you figure trying to get like 4 assessments in a term, you're basically giving like a test, a project, a paper once every 8 or 9 class days. From a teaching perspective, as someone who has like between 90 to 110 students in any given semester, that's a lot of stuff to grade. And teachers also felt that trying to get 4 in a term was simply impractical, to the point where in order to meet the standard in the handbook and all that stuff, teachers were basically taking things that they normally wouldn't count as an assessment and making it an assessment grade, which we just all agree is bad practice. Then there's the other side of it from the student perspective. I mean, we have some students who are taking multiple APs, multiple honors level courses, and they were just getting burnt out. I mean, it's like an unrealistic standard we felt to push our students to say, hey, if you're taking 5 core classes, you're looking at a minimum of 20 major assessments a term. And I predominantly teach seniors, getting them ready for college. And one of the points that came up over and over again is that when you go to college, you have basically like a mid-year exam and a final exam. So saying, hey, you're going to have 4 major assessments a term isn't really preparing them for that next thing in college, where it's a mid-year exam can make or break you. So that was sort of like the overall like big picture view.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ben. So again, as I stated, I want to shed some light on the deliberations that happened at our council, and I want to emphasize, and I think this is pertinent to the second change that we're going to talk about tonight as well, that the majority of the members of our council are students. I just want to stress that. The majority of the members of the council are students, right? The students have voted in favor of this change. There was a very healthy debate within the school council as to whether or not this was appropriate. We did have some students who expressed reservations and apprehensions about how fewer assessments would mean higher stakes assessments. And this would run the risk that if a student stumbled on one assessment, that it would be harder for them to recover. I think that concern that students expressed was, I think, largely addressed by their peers, who reminded them that in a full year academic course, if you have 3 assessments per term, that's going to be 12 assessments right there, plus a mid-year and a final exam. So that's going to be 14 assessments over a school year at a minimum, right? This is just setting the floor. In some classes, it's going to be more. And in addition, assessments only make up 75% of the term grade. So your homework and your classwork and your class participation, these also factor into the grades. And I think for the students who initially were apprehensive about having higher stakes assessment, I think those fears were mitigated when they realized that, all right, well, it's only your final course grade that appears on your transcript, right? So all the quarters get averaged out, and I think that put their minds at ease. The strongest support from the students was for the reasons that Ben spoke to. Many of our students, and I should note that all of our council students are very high achieving students, highly invested students, taking very rigorous courses. They talked about, especially our older students, having this experience where there was 4 weeks a year that were completely unmanageable for them, right? The last week of every term was this tsunami of assessments that teachers were giving them, because the teachers were hustling to sort of squeeze in the 4th assessment per term. And some of our highest achieving students spoke about how, while there was 4 weeks of the school year, the last week of each term, that was particularly sort of unmanageable, that it wasn't limited to just 4 weeks. As has been indicated, for a student who's taking 3 or more AP courses concurrently, they're running typically multiple major assessments per week. Maybe that's not true in the first sort of 3 to 4 weeks of the school year, but once you're 5 weeks in, it's pretty much nonstop. 2 to 3 assessments per week, every week for the remaining 35, 36 weeks of the school year. Some of our students spoke about how they had often felt like the pace of assessments was so fast that it was really inhibiting their ability to focus on learning for mastery, and it was pushing them to study material in a more superficial way, and really where assessments were becoming really sort of transactional, right? Like, I just got to do this, I got to get it done, I got to, and I got to move on to the next thing. Where, hey, this is complex content, this takes time, I need practice, I need to get help from my teacher. There was strong support ultimately from our students for this proposal, because they thought that it would be good for their learning and good for their health. Initially, when I heard the proposal, I had some reservations about there being sort of higher stakes attached to the assessments. And then I sort of, reflected on something that I've shared with some of you on the committee before, and I've certainly shared with some on the faculty. Students' academic performance, when you look at how they do across all of their courses, across all 4 years, it's actually really consistent, right? So changing the stakes that we're going to attach to sort of one assessment and one term, I think it all comes out in the wash as a mathematical matter. So I don't want to pretend as though having higher stakes attached to each individual assessment cannot pose some problems and some challenges for some students along the way. I think that will be a consequence of this change. I think there will be some students who stumble on an assessment, and then, find themselves in a challenging position to sort of recover their grade for the quarter. But again, let's remember that transcripted grades are course grades, not quarter grades. Right? Our major academic courses are full year. So while it is true that higher stakes assessments can create some new challenges for some students, it doesn't change the fact that students' academic achievement is remarkably consistent across all their subjects, across all 4 years of school. And I don't think that what I would consider to be a relatively marginal change in the number of assessments and the weighting of assessments is going to change the fact that students' academic achievement is highly consistent across courses across all 4 years.
Thank you.
So with that, let me pause. I'm happy to answer any questions and try to respond to any concerns.
Meg?
So first off, thanks for the context. It's very helpful not just to have the change, but to understand it. Then I'd love to hear kind of how is this seen, or what's the impact from a teacher perspective?
From lowering it, or just from the current standpoint?
Making this change.
So we feel like it's going to lead to better practice overall.
Okay.
Okay. I mean, just as an example, in my government classes, like in order to get assessments in, I would give a case study to my students, and I would say, hey, I want you to read this 20-page document. I want you to annotate it, answer these questions, and I'm going to count that as an assessment grade. But that's not really like in line with what the goals of our assessments are, where it says there, an assessment is a task designed to measure a student's performance against specific learning standards. It's like, I'm doing that just to get the grade in, instead of like having them like read it, learn that, hey, in college you're going to be expected to read a text, figure out, and then your professor's going to be asking you questions about it, in class the next day, and that's where you get, the grade on. So
Awesome.
for us, it's about like, just being better teachers.
Okay, that's great. I appreciate that feedback. I'd be curious, just how we think about it. You don't need to answer this, but just as we think about just communicating it, because I know families that have multiple children be very used to sort of how we used to do it. So just so it's sort of well communicated in terms of the change. And then Craig, this is like a one-off issue, but I'd also be sensitive to, is there a requirement in terms of how timely people need to put grades in? Because if there's only going to be 3 and someone waits until the last week to add them all, as a parent, I've had instances where it would be helpful to have known earlier the child's grades on said assessments. So not that we need to have a hard and fast rule, but some visibility from a parent standpoint, particularly if we're going to reduce the number that's in there, I think would be helpful.
So with regards to communication, at the start of every year in my back to school letter to parents and students, I highlight any substantive changes to the handbook. So, and I speak directly to all of our students on the first 2 days of school, and I speak to them about substantive changes in the handbook.
Perfect.
So
Thank you.
I'll do so. And with regards to the latter point, I would defer to Dr. Kinsigli. It's ultimately a matter that's subject to bargaining with the Teachers Association. So I'll leave that one with Dr. Kinsigli.
Perfect.
Any other questions?
Yeah, just curious, how long have we been doing 4 assessments per term?
We made adjustments to the assessment policy, I believe, for the 2018-2019 school year. I do not believe that the previous policy had stipulated a minimum number of assessments, but I'm not 100% confident that.
No, it did not.
Okay.
In fact, I think that was one of the reasons why we went to this policy, because every department sort of did things differently, and we want to have a consistent approach across the entire school.
Okay. So the last several years, it's been kind of overworking, like a lot. It's just been a lot.
Yeah, it has, and I mean, keep in mind, 2018, 2019 was, the last year before the pandemic.
Right.
Yeah. And I think it was 2019, 2020 when we went to our current flex block schedule. That's
correct.
So, yeah, so I think that was really where we started to see these issues.
Okay.
And I think that in terms of the years of experience with it, as Ben noted, teachers were hearing from students what students were telling me on the council, and I think it took kids reaching their junior and senior year and having 3 or 4 years of experience with this system before they were recognizing the dynamics this was creating, right? Where again, you had these 4 weeks a year where the workload became really where a lot of students reporting became very, very unmanageable, and where our highest achieving students were saying like this, and this isn't limited to 4 weeks a year, right? It's kind of every quarter is sort of like just an unrelenting race to get into these assessments.
Okay.
Yeah, and especially for, seniors in fourth term. I think fourth term for us began April 1st, and for seniors it ended on May 16th, and you've got a week of April vacation there.
Mm-hmm.
That is not a lot of time to get in 3 assessments under the current policy, especially when those seniors are all thinking about, where they're going in a few months, so.
Right.
Thank you, guys. Any other, Brendan?
Yeah, just a quick comment. I really do appreciate the background on it, because my initial concern was exactly that of like, well, I'm not a good test taker, so having that extra pressure on the test might give me more anxiety, which kind of snowballs a little bit there. So I appreciate the input that you gained from the student body and from the teachers, so the context is super helpful. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ben.
Thank you.
Okay, and do you want to go one at a time, or you want to review the next two before voting on the handbook changes?
We can just vote on each one. So, yeah.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to accept the amendments as presented.
Motion by Meg, second by Derek. All in favor?
Okay.
Motion passes.
Then you're welcome to stick around, but I know you got a
My
family to
kids
get back
need-
to.
thank you so much.
Thank you for being here,
Thank
man. I
you, everyone.
appreciate it.
Take
All right. So let's deal next with the proposed change to the cheating plagiarism policy. This is quick, and then I think the next one's more substantive. We're just adding a clause here, or a paragraph that specifies that if a student is bringing their own device to school, which we do permit students to bring their own devices to school, and a teacher's given a computer-based assessment, you're going to have to bring your Chromebook in that day, right? Our Chromebooks have controls on them that allow us to administer online assessments in a more secure environment. If students are using their own devices, we're losing that control, and so this is all about academic integrity. So any questions or concerns on this proposal?
Can I motion to?
No, I had a question, just a quick one. I know we were just talking about AI going into the kind of cheating plagiarism piece. I know you have one in the handbook. It's not in front of me, but does that cover cheating and plagiarism?
So our language in the handbook that deals with artificial intelligence in academic, the title is Artificial Intelligence Tools and Academic Integrity Policy. It follows directly under our section on cheating and plagiarism.
Okay, great.
And so it is specifically about prohibited conduct with respect to artificial intelligence.
Okay, great. Yeah, so with AI, to me, there's two pieces. There's the integrity piece, and then there's how to use it to teach piece, right?
Yes.
And so I want to make sure that really we cover the integrity piece, which it sounds like we have. Thank you.
Can I motion now?
Yeah.
Motion to accept.
Motion by Brendan, second by Derek. All in favor? It's unanimous. Motion passes.
Okay. So the third proposed change is with regards to our cell phone protocol, and this is a substantive change. I want to again explain sort of what we're proposing to change, why we're proposing this change, and I'd then also like to share with you some of the deliberations that happened at council. So we are essentially looking to make a practice that is already happening in some Milford High School classrooms uniform across the building, right? And what that practice is that when you come into the classroom, you take your cell phone and you place it in a classroom cell phone holder, and it remains there for the entirety of the block. When the block is done, you take your phone and you leave, right? Today, that is not the requirement in Milford High School classrooms, and so we have some teachers using this approach, and we have others who are not. Since we put our current cell phone policy in place, which I believe was also for the 2018-2019 school year, we've gained a lot of experience with cell phones in schools. There's been a lot of research conducted on cell phones in schools. And it is clear to me as an administrator and as an educator, it's clear to my colleagues in the classrooms that it is unequivocally in the best interest of our students to have them physically separated from their devices when class is in session. I think the committee is aware, and many community members are aware, that the state legislature has been contemplating so-called bell-to-bell cell phone bans, and they may still do so. I am, for what it's worth, I am not a proponent of such a ban at the high school. I believe that older adolescents have very legitimate purposes to have phones available to them before school and after school and during passing and at lunch. And I also think that it's part of preparing students for the responsibilities of adulthood in society. So If the state says that we're not going to even let phones on campus, then I will deal with that. But that's not what I'm proposing to the committee, and that's not what I'm proposing to the community. We do not permit students to use phones during class time now. But we know that when students have their phones on their persons, a significant number of students are using their phones during class times. Our teachers try their best to monitor cell phone use, but they have a lot of responsibilities during class time, and being the cell phone police officer is not their sole responsibility. And we also have students who are missing significant time out of class because they are asking to leave class and go to the restroom so they can get a few minutes on their phone. It is a reality that we have to confront, that many of our students are struggling to control sort of compulsive tendencies with the use of cell phones. And recognizing that, I think it's only responsible for us to take some additional steps to separate students from their phones during the school day. Another substantive change is that we're also clarifying here that this policy applies to our flex period as well. So not just when class is in session, but during our 2 flex blocks a week. Again, we know that there are legitimate reasons why it is helpful for young adults to have access to cell phones periodically during the school day. But we also know that it is not constructive, and in many cases it is destructive and unhealthy for students to be spending significant periods of time on their phones while they're here in school, and we have high quality activities for them to do during flex block, and being on their cell phone is not one of them. So we're proposing that we have a clear prohibition on cell phone use during flex block as well.
Thank you.
So, how are these phone holders? Like, what do they look like? Is it a big bin?
Yes, I think that the simplest version, and what we'll purchase for every classroom if this is approved, they're basically shoe holders that hang on the back of a door.
Gotcha.
Right, and so they'll have like 30 slots in them.
Awesome.
Yep. We do have some teachers who've either purchased or have manufactured. And our building trades class has made some kind of like docking stations.
Yeah.
Right. We can kind of like dock 30 phones. Those are a little bit more expensive, and while they're kind of nice, they're not necessary. So
Right.
Very inexpensive shoe holders in the back of doors are totally adequate.
Okay. Let's see. I saw the smartwatches on there. The students taking those off too?
Yes.
And what about like meta glasses and like the technology's just always expanding? So
yeah. I mean, I think that this applies to. I just want to refer to the language here. We're also changing the title from cell phone protocol to electronics to be more expansive.
Right.
It does say devices into a locker.
Yes. Yeah. Place their devices. Yeah. So our expectation is that if you're using technology in the classroom, you're using a computer because your teacher has directed you to do so, right? And when at all other times the technology is away. But when you're using technology, it's a computer. Right.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah. To Derek's point, though, I think the first paragraph, upon entering the class, cell phones must be silenced, blah, 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 blah. Cell phones will remain. I think maybe making it a little bit more all-encompassing to devices, etc., to clarify a little bit. Because Derek has a good point. Meta glasses, Apple's going to be coming out heavy. Like in the next year or two, they're going to be coming out with a lot of those type of devices. So just a suggestion.
I mean, we could certainly, and I can.
We can approve this tonight, and then if we make it.
We could certainly. I think we could add very simply in the first sentence. We could say cell phones, earphones, smartwatches, or other types of mobile technology.
Yes. Okay. Or other types of technology. Yes. Brendan.
Just one question. I don't know how you feel about adding a sentence in at the end of this policy is in effect within state law. So if the state law does change, you have to come back to us to essentially wipe all of it away or wipe most of it away. Does that make sense to you or the committee?
It does.
Yeah.
For what it's worth, I think if any state law, if any statute goes into effect which supersedes a handbook policy, the handbook policy is rendered moot. We would clean it up for the next year, but it would be rendered moot as soon as the statute went into effect.
Okay. Thank you.
So back to my original communication comment, this might need to be communicated even more than the prior on the assessment structure, which I'm sure you have a plan for. I appreciate that, the change itself will not be popular probably initially, but I'm just thinking of the comments. I remember our student representatives coming in when we first put the cell phone policy into place, and the positivity around that change was like, it was mind-blowing. So I think this actually is a great and needed change, but I appreciate it working hard.
And I neglected to share with you some of the deliberations that happen in our council amongst our students. Our students, first of all, most of our students have experience with this approach in many classrooms, right? So we're not talking about introducing a radical change for our students, right? This is something that many of our students are already experiencing in some or many classrooms during the day. Two, we did have some students who were not supportive of extending the prohibition on cell phone use to FlexBlock. Right? And something that I shared with students, and ultimately, the majority were able to sort of embrace, or at least endorse, is while we recognize that the impact of cell phones varies across individuals, not all individuals are negatively impacted by cell phones in the same ways or to the same magnitude, that the evidence is indisputable that there are large percentages of adolescents who are being very negatively impacted by prolonged cell phone use. And knowing that, and then permitting students to spend 2 hours a week glued on their cell phones rather than engage in productive activity here in school, it amounts to a dereliction of duty, and it's inconsistent with our values and our mission here as a school. And the students, again, the majority of the students understood that and respected that and were able to get behind that. So, there's no question there will be some challenges with implementation, and there's no question in my mind that this will be a net positive for our students, and that any challenges that we encounter will be challenges that are well worth engaging with.
Brendan?
Yeah, actually, to go off your point, Megan, my brother's, he's a principal in Connecticut, and they instituted a similar policy this year. And actually, the hardest people to get on board were the parents, because they were so used to texting their kids throughout the day for X, Y, or Z, and that was actually a bigger learning curve than the students adhering to the policy. So that additional communication to the parents and reinforcement is probably going to be your biggest barrier.
Yep. And I would, I do want to remind both the committee and the community at large, if students have an exceptional life circumstance and they need to contact someone at home, they just got to speak to their teacher. We're not going to say no, right? We want to be. We know that there. Again, as I said earlier, I believe that there are legitimate reasons to permit adolescents to have cell phones with them during the school day, and we will flex to support our students when they need support. We just want them to handle that responsibly. Right? And I would also just note. Brendan, as you pointed out, this approach is not only, I mentioned that it's happening in many of our classrooms. This is a very well-established approach to cell phone management in high schools in Eastern Massachusetts right now. So what we're proposing right now, this is not novel, this is not experimental, this is happening at scale in Massachusetts, and I've heard from many, many principals who've made this change, that while it has not resolved all concerns about cell phones in schools, it's been a very healthy, positive step in the right direction.
So I thought, I sent the committee the article about Northbridge. One stat that caught me is that their number of failed classes for seniors went from 113 to 21. I mean, that's like mind-blowing. Like, I figured it'd be like, a trend, but not like, that's a cliff, right? Mm-hmm. So anyways, I'm in support of this.
Will it improve our bandwidth?
Huh?
Will it improve our IT? Because all the kids won't be on their phones.
Maybe.
More network glue.
If they're not on the
okay,
Wi-Fi, sure.
Yeah,
I mean, so look at that. Do we have a motion to accept the policy as presented with the addition of or other types of technology? Motion. Derek makes a motion.
I'll second.
Brendan seconds. All in favor? Motion passes.
Thank you for your support.
Thank you.
All right, so our school improvement plan. This is a very, very different type of plan that I've presented to the committee in the past, and something that I've been working with Dr. Kinsigli on and our council in recent months. So the strategies that we have had to improve Milford High School are not changing at all. Okay, so I want to be clear about that. The format of the plan and the ways in which we are sort of stating goals and measuring progress towards our goals is different than past plans that I've presented. But the strategies that we've been implementing since I've joined the team here at Milford and that the committee has been instrumental in supporting and advancing, the strategies are unchanged. Right? And I also want to make it clear that the type of quantitative comparative analysis that we're using in this school improvement plan, while this is new for our school improvement plan, this is not new for Milford High School. As some of you know, I have regularly engaged in quantitative comparative analysis of Milford High School's performance on key performance indicators against demographically similar schools for some time, because I believe that this is an important management technique for answering a really basic question. How are we doing? Right? If you are not comparing your achievement against comparable measures with demographically similar schools, I don't see how you can make evidence-based claims about how we are doing. Right? So this is not a new mode of analysis. You're not going to hear me talking about new strategies for improving outcomes here at Milford High School, but this is a very different approach to packaging our school improvement plan. The first thing that's different is that this is not a one-year plan, but this is a 3-year plan. The second thing that's different is that all of the goals are framed in terms of measures of student achievement. So these are all student outcome measures that we're focused on. On page 2 of the plan, there's a table that I think when you first look at it can be a bit complex and confusing. This is laying out 9 key performance indicators that we are tracking how we are performing against demographically similar schools. And for members of the community that don't have the document in front of them, I want you to know that Milford is one of a very, very small number of high schools in the Commonwealth of our demographic profile. There are only 5 other high schools in Massachusetts that are even somewhat similar to Milford High School, really are quite unique. They are Doherty Memorial High School, which is one of the high schools in the Worcester Public Schools, Framingham High School, Marlborough High School, Somerville High School, and Waltham High School. For folks that are in Eastern Massachusetts, you know that while we are demographically similar to these communities, there are significant demographic differences between these communities as well. But these are the communities that are most like us. What you'll see in the table is the indicators that are highlighted in green are indicators where our performance is best in class compared to demographically similar schools. And we're looking at our performance average across 3 years. So we're not looking at just one point in time. You can get year-to-year variation that I think can skew your analysis. So it's more appropriate to look at sort of a 3-year measure. So our student growth percentiles in English and mathematics are best in class. Our achievement on the ELA MCAS is best in class. The percentage of our 11th and 12th graders completing advanced coursework and our graduates completing Mass Core are best in class. Right? The indicators where we are not best in class is overall achievement in mathematics, overall achievement in science, and I beg your pardon, this is achievement as measured on the MCAS. Right? So we're not best in class with overall achievement in mathematics, we're not best in class in overall achievement in science, or on the last 2, which is our post-secondary outcomes, which is students enrolled in post-secondary education immediately after graduation, and college students persistently enrolled for the first 2 years after graduation. You'll note that on these 4 indicators where we are not best in class, it is Framingham that's best in class. For members of the community that do not know, I believe that most committee members are well acquainted with this. It's really important to understand that every measure of educational achievement in the United States of America is highly correlated with socioeconomic status. More specifically, household income. Right? We do not have publicly available measures of the distribution of household income within these communities. Right? So we do know that there are real demographic differences within these communities. So for example, right now the median home price in Framingham is about $750,000. And the median home price in Milford is a little under $540,000, right? There's a much higher concentration of high-income students in Framingham than you see in the Milford Public Schools, right? Given that, Framingham is one of the 5 high schools that's even close to Milford, and so that's who we're going to compare ourselves to, right? I also want to note with respect to the post-secondary outcomes that while, as you will hear, and for those who've been on the committee for a while know that this is my number one priority, is improving post-secondary outcomes for our students. I believe that it is noteworthy that Framingham's data is, to some degree, I believe, a reflection of the fact that there are 2 public institutions of higher education within city limits that are available to Framingham residents with public transportation. Framingham State University and Mass Bay Community College. So there are structural barriers that Milford High School graduates are facing to accessing higher education that do not present the same way in Framingham. Right? I don't offer these points up to say that we can't do better, and as you'll hear, it is my intention for us to do better where we are not best in class. The fact that we are best in class on most of these indicators suggests that we can be best in class on all of these indicators, right? But these are important demographic and geographic considerations that I think we need to understand as we're interpreting this comparative analysis. So our goals are twofold. There's 2 goals. Goal number 1 is on all the indicators where we're best in class is we're going to stay best in class. And goal number 2 is on the indicators where we're not best in class is that over the next 3 years, we're going to cut the gap between us and the best in class school by 50%, right? I don't believe we can close it by 100% in 3 years. Maybe we'll be surprised, right? But the goal is to cut the gap by 50% in the next 3 years. Again, the strategies are not new, right? The way that we're going to maintain the exemplary performance that we see in English language arts is we're going to stay the course with our Writing with Colors program, and we're going to continue to tweak it and refine it and make it better. That primarily lives with our English department, but also with our ESL and our special education departments. In terms of maintaining our best-in-class growth scores on MCAS math, we're going to stay the course with our illustrative math implementation. That lives primarily with our math department, but also with ESL and SPED. And the way that we're going to maintain the high levels of achievement that we see is we are going to continue the good work that we are doing to support students who are not thriving, which is our work to improve our multi-tiered systems of support. This lives with all of our faculty and our interventionists and our administrators. As I have communicated previously, just to sustain the good work that we're doing is going to require more resources because the challenge is changing. I want to stress to the committee and the community, right? Students who are chronically absent from school, which is 30% of our students, we've not been able to move the needle on chronic absenteeism this year. We are not going to get better achievement out of these students unless we can address their absenteeism. Okay? Illustrative math is not going to make the difference. Writing with Colors is not going to make the difference, right? We need to get them to attend school regularly, right? So anything that we're going to do with respect to curriculum and instruction and assessment has to sit on a foundation of good attendance at school, right? And we have a major attendance challenge here at Milford High School. We also have a significant percentage of students who are struggling with their health and wellness, in particular, their mental health. Students that are not healthy and are not having their mental health needs addressed, it is unrealistic that we're going to be able to raise their achievement through improvements in curriculum and instruction and assessment, which is why I believe that we need to make investments in a bilingual Portuguese-speaking adjustment counselor and a dedicated high school attendance interventionist. We are also going to need to make ongoing investments in the illustrative math rollout. So we've invested heavily in both fiscal years, in the fiscal year closing right now, FY25. We're investing heavily again in FY26. And as we roll up illustrative math implementation to the Algebra 2 level, we're going to need to make significant investments again in FY27. I'm scrolling down to the next page, which is goal number 2, narrowing our performance gaps. Again, the goal is to cut the gap in half by 50% in 3 years. I also just want to highlight here that in addition to staying the course with illustrative math, in order to improve math achievement and stay in the course with our work around multi-tiered systems of support, we're going to need to do a couple other things to close the gaps on a few of these indicators. Number one is that we need to take a really deep dive into our science curriculum. We need to make changes, right? So our science achievement is lagging Framingham significantly, but not our English and math, right? So that says to me very clearly that this is a curricular issue, right? And it's a curricular issue that once we adjust, I'm confident that we're going to see, that we are going to close that gap between us and the highest achieving school. So our administrative team needs to work closely with our science faculty over the next 3 years. I think quickly in FY26, we need to develop a change strategy for science curriculum, and then we need to be laying the groundwork for implementation in FY26, so that once FY27 hits, we are beginning to implement change. And that change is then working in FY27 and FY28. And I believe that with 2 years of change, I think we're going to start to see a change in results. We are not there yet. I'm not ready to say to the committee, these are the changes we're going to make in science. I know that we need to make changes in science. I need to work with my colleagues in the science department to figure out what those changes are going to be. It is likely that we're going to need the committee's financial support to implement changes in FY26 and FY27. I do not anticipate that we're going to need investments in durable equipment or consumable materials. The committee and the community has made significant capital investments in durable equipment as recently as the past 4 or 5 years, and our science labs are well equipped, and our budget lines for consumable materials are where they should be. I think we're likely going to need to invest in professional development. So I think we need to send teachers to trainings. We may need to invest in coaching in order to execute a change strategy in science. And then lastly, in terms of improving our post-secondary outcomes, both college matriculation rates and persistence rates, we need to continue to expand One Goal in our early college programs, which the committee has enabled us to do. We are going to be doubling One Goal enrollment in FY26 from where it was in FY25. As the committee's heard me say before, but I want to repeat it because I'm so proud, our outcomes for One Goal right now are low-income students in One Goal. Their post-secondary enrollment rates and their post-secondary matriculation rates are double that of low-income students in the Commonwealth broadly. So we're producing results with our low-income students in One Goal that are double of what you see statewide for low-income students. This is a research-backed, evidence-based, highly efficacious strategy for improving post-secondary enrollment and persistence for students, and I'm so grateful to the committee and the community for enabling us to double enrollment. And I'm confident that you will see a significant change in the numbers. It is noteworthy that the numbers that you see in the chart on page 2, post-secondary data is always lagging, right? So your data here comes from FY22, 23, and 24, right? So these are students that graduated from Milford High School in the class 2020, 21, and 22, right? We did not have One Goal in place, right, at that stage. So I'm confident that our numbers are going to be going up, right? And the fact that we're expanding One Goal enrollment, and the fact that our early college program is so much more robust now than it was in 2020, 21, and 22, I'm confident that we're going to see the post-secondary indicators go up. And again, I want to stress that if we're going to bring up science achievement, if we're going to bring up math achievement, and if we're going to bring up post-secondary enrollment, we gotta focus on attendance, right? Attendance, bar none, is the most important challenge facing Milford High School today. A brand new and improved science curriculum is going to be a wonderful thing for everyone who has good attendance at school. But if you don't have good attendance at school, that new and improved science curriculum is not going to help you, right? We got to get you coming to school regularly.
Let's pause you there for a minute. Take a break. Any questions so far?
Just moving quickly, Josh, on the attendance piece. I
Yep.
know we had tried a new bus route. Curious, I don't see any funding related to, I see the attendance officer, but maybe
Yep.
not necessarily that ancillary stuff. Curious if there's any needs there.
I mean, listen, if I could wave my magic wand, I'd love to see universal busing here in Milford. That's a big ask. I don't know if that's within within reach of the community at this time, particularly as we're looking to fund this new high school project. But our rates of chronic absenteeism are not distributed equally across the student body. They're highly concentrated in our low-income students. Our low-income students primarily live downtown. They're not eligible for bus service. We do have students downtown who literally are walking uphill between 1.5 miles to 2 miles to come to school. It is a structural barrier that is negatively impacting attendance. It's a very, very profound challenge for us as a community to address.
Craig, we had implemented that like additional route. It was a temporary thing, I believe. Is that? Can we get an update?
I thought Josh would probably
Yeah,
have
no.
more
So we,
on that.
I mean, listen, that additional bus route is not operating at a scale that is enabling us to see impact, right?
Thank you.
At max, we're providing a transportation option for perhaps 20 students, right? Who didn't have access previously. A bus can't carry more than 40 high school students.
Thank you.
Right.
Any other questions so far? No? Right.
Yeah, that's all I got.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
It's a lot of information. Yeah.
It's a complicated school.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you for that. I really like the table to compare to the other schools. I always think that's super helpful. It also makes me proud too, because we stack up very well. So
We do.
to the motion.
Well, just really quick, just back to that transportation piece. I mean, 2 miles is a super long way to walk to school. You know, and that's what our policy is now. I mean, if we got it down to 1.5 miles, I don't know what that would look like. If we could even
Probably
keep it-
millions.
Yeah, I'm sure it would be. I mean, I don't know if we could even game that out just so we can have a.
It's something to explore, because don't we have a RFP going out at some point?
Yeah, I mean, if
I mean,
yeah,
maybe in the RFP we have multiple bids
Yeah.
for certain types of
if we can even cut it down by a
ranges.
half mile, does that get us
Not a bad idea.
50 more students? Another bus or whatever it might be. I don't know. If we can cut that down for you, I think that's something that we should absolutely at least look at.
I do want to note that even if we had universal public transportation, that
It's
is
not gonna
not
be
going to eradicate
No.
No.
the challenge of chronic absenteeism. And my persistent request for high school-based attendance interventionist, it rests on a premise that's grounded in fact, right? Which is not all students who are walkers and who are low-income students are chronically absent from school, right?
Mm-hmm.
So while transportation barriers are a significant piece of the puzzle, we have students who face very significant transportation barriers who have excellent attendance at school, right? So there's a constellation of sociocultural factors that are driving chronic absenteeism. Structural barriers like transportation exacerbate those sociocultural factors, but this is a sociocultural challenge, which I believe is best addressed through caseworkers, essentially, right? Human beings who go out and develop relationships with students and families and become advocates and allies and coaches, and in some cases, accountability figures as well. Even with that, we're not going to eliminate this problem, but I believe that to make a dent in the problem, I believe that a problem that is fundamentally sociocultural in nature requires a human intervention in order to address it effectively.
Thank you.
Thank you.
To the motion. Sure.
I'll motion.
What are you motioning?
We
Greg?
gotta
Yeah, I
vote.
was going through. Wait a minute. Yeah. I was like, wait a minute. Yeah, you're right.
I think you want a motion to approve this school improvement
Improvement
plan and
as-
the handbook with the changes.
as presented.
Yeah.
I'll motion for that.
Do a second. Meg, all in favor?
All
Aye.
Thank you for your support, folks. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, let's move on to the report of the Assistant Superintendent for Curriculum Instruction and Assessment.
Just quickly, this is more of an FYI. I just wanted to inform the committee that we received word from Leah Meehan of the Human Resources Department at Imperial Cars that they are, for the summer, creating a, I guess they're calling it Cram the Van, where they work with school districts to supply school supplies. The reason I guess I'm informed, we can't take it on as a gift because we don't know what they're giving us. But I just wanted the committee to understand that they're going to be advertising this across the region. It's not just for Milford Public Schools, it's for a few other different districts. And I just wanted, I guess, your support for to be included in this drive that Imperial Cars is putting on to give us some school supplies. They've asked us to create a list of just different things that our teachers would need and different things our students might need. So we're doing that right now. There's no need to vote or anything like that, just letting you know.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, report of the school business administrator.
Thank you. So the first item is the vote to use the student activity account interest as part of the student activity accounts. I think, of course, Dr. Lopez brought it to my attention. I think this should expand to high school activity accounts too.
Okay. Do the motion.
How much interest are they making, Lynn?
So the
Ish.
June statement won't come until July. So I don't know if in the past anybody provided a whole year. So based on my calculation, it's about 1,800 for high school and less than 1,000 in the middle school.
Yeah, so this is to change
Per
the
year.
process, not the amounts, correct? This motion.
Yeah, it's just to allow to
Yeah, okay.
vote to allow us to use the interest.
Great. Do I have a motion?
Michael, do you know offhand, is there a policy on that?
We actually we
Just
have
a way to
I think it's
update
in the
it,
high school.
That's my only ask.
Yeah, hold on. No, actually, let's look.
Sorry.
Yeah, we have a student account policy.
Right, just that we might want to update that in conjunction with the change.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Update the policy to include interest.
Yeah.
I think
Using
that's the
it-
way it
using
should be
interest.
done, Craig. If we're gonna make the update, to me, it would come via the policy, sorry. I think it's a great idea, I just would
Okay.
recommend we go through
Okay.
that.
So update the student activity account policy, which
Yeah.
also probably needs, does it need to include Stacy, maybe?
Yes.
There it is. File DG.
Thank you.
DG.
Actually, elementary and the middle and high schools are included in here.
Okay.
Just needs to include the part about the interest, using
Probably.
the interest.
Yeah,
Okay.
and I think Meg's right. I think we just put it in the policy.
That'd be better.
It'd be done with it.
Okay, great.
Student
That's a
activity.
good idea.
Sweet.
Okay. Oh, you have to vote this time, right?
Nope, we don't have to vote. 'Cause
No?
We'll change the policy.
Oh, no, Michael, I'm sorry. So there, it's in the policy now. It says the school committee will take an annual
Does it?
vote in June prior to the new school year to approve the allocation of interest. So right now, we're allocating the interest, but we don't know
Oh.
how much it is. Okay.
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 Interest earnings may be expended for costs related to the operation of the student account, not used for operational costs. Oh, sorry, interest earnings not used for operational costs may be turned over to the clubs, classes, and organizations having monies in the student account.
So this is what we typically do for the high school, but now we're doing for the
So
Middle school.
where are we allocating it to?
Right.
Back to the account, right?
So it looks like they just haven't been carried forward year after year.
Into the account.
Mm-hmm.
Got it. At the high school for the, like, the vending machines, when they usually come with, like, okay, we have $1,000, this is how
Yeah,
we
but
want to
that's
spend it.
different. Looks like
Yeah.
looks
I think-
like it's a lot more than the yearly
Where I'm
interest.
confused is, to Meg's point,
Yeah.
is this a process change or are we actually voting on
Allocating.
moving money?
Right.
So I'm
We're
used to-
not moving money. We just allow them to use the money. The money is in the same account.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how is this different than the vote that we take for the high school?
Vending machine.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Vending machine was deposited to a town what they call the general fund account, and it has to be allocated to a different account for us to use.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're happy to take a vote that you think we need to move forward on this, and then I think we need to make sure the policy just reflects this. So let us know what you want us to vote on.
To vote on allow the middle school student account to use the interest.
Okay. Do you have
I'll make a motion.
a- Make the motion. Derek seconds. All in favor? Motion passes.
Thank you. And then again, personnel update is all the hires, the summer hires, and the next year turnovers. It's very busy hiring season we're going through.
Thank you. All right. Consent agenda. All right, we have a warrant, 17 warrants for $1,111,872.29.
Motion.
Well, it's a consent
Motion by
agenda.
Meg.
It's a consent agenda.
You
Oh,
have a
sorry.
second?
Thought he was.
Oh, yes, right.
It's a
Because
consent agenda.
Yeah,
so it's all-
I understand. I got it. Yeah, and then we're going to actually include the approval of minutes, which is June 6, 2025, the regular meeting. And then there's June 6, 2025, the executive session. Any questions on those minutes?
Sorry.
Do you want to pull? We'll be pulling. That's fine.
I just don't think the minutes from the 5th say who was at the meeting, which I think they should.
The attendance. Which one?
This- just the meeting.
The regular meeting minutes from the 5th?
The 6th.
June 6th? June 5th. Those are
You're
the
right,
ones
there's
I'm
no
looking at.
attendance.
Sorry.
No, you're right.
Okay.
Good catch.
So I'd like to pull the minutes from June 6th.
So there was a
and the
motion already on
executives.
the, do we have to defeat that motion?
I never finished the motion.
Alright.
Thanks, Brendan.
I just,
Yeah, so there's no,
I don't want to end up in jail, Michael.
yeah, no, there's no second on it, so it doesn't go anywhere. Yeah, there's no, you're right, there's no attendance.
Same for exec, so we should just.
Yeah. We'll
On
just,
the regular meeting, so both of them.
yeah, both of them, yeah.
June 5th, I see it.
Yeah,
what
so
I'll
back-
do is I'll pull them out.
So we have 17 warrants for $1,111,870. Anyways, do we have a motion to approve the warrants as presented? Motion by Meg, second by Brendan. Unanimous. Motion passes. And the approval of minutes we're gonna kick to another meeting.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
then PD, right?
So we're gonna roll into the PD.
Mm.
Any questions on professional development?
I'll motion to approve.
Motion by Brendan to accept it as presented.
Yes.
Second by Brendan. Any discussion?
Second by Derek.
I mean,
Yep.
Derek.
Alright.
Any discussion?
No, thank you.
Right.
Aye.
Vote. All in favor? Let's move on. Thank you. Motion passes. All right, material to be cleared as surplus. When, or Craig, do you guys have anything to talk about on this one, or is it pretty self-explanatory?
So those are, Carrie, you can chip in. So those are obsolete textbooks at Stacy and high school, and also at Woodland. And the last item, Woodland, the grade 3, grade 4, FOSS science kids. If you see the list, it's what currently included in the science kit is not everything we're going to get rid of. And the teachers has been, so those are a really old science
Yes.
kit, and they're not relevant to the curriculum anymore. So the teachers is going through all those items and trying to salvage whatever they can use, and then just to remove those are like take too much space or they're worn out.
Great.
For the math, if it's helpful, the grade 6 through Algebra 1 is IM materials from 2019, but they've updated to IM 360, which is more inclusive. It's incorporated a lot of English language learner standards right in there for us. It's more, the workbooks are better for kids, they're more teacher friendly, and so grade 6 through Algebra 1 will adopt IM 360 this fall, and then geometry is, as we bring in IM, we need to get rid of the old textbooks.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to declare these materials as presented? Motion by Meg, second by Brendan. All in favor? Unanimous. Motion passes. Thank you.
Can I ask a workbook question? Derek on, Michael?
No, we voted already. Okay.
No, it's not about the ones we're
I'm
getting rid of.
joking.
Here, like on IM, for example, right, your student brings home the workbook, like what's the expectation around, and I appreciate they're not gonna finish the workbook end to end, but is there like, are teachers supposed to be doing specific components, or just, how does that work?
So the workbook should be used on a daily basis
Okay.
as they're teaching each of the
Got
lessons.
it, okay, yes. And so when they're returning it, theoretically, they're through all of the lessons that are contained in that content.
Correct,
Okay, that's
correct.
helpful. Thank
I
you.
would add that like some of our younger grades
Yes.
warm-ups,
Sure.
the kids are doing it verbally in class and
Yep.
not always writing it down. So there
Makes
are
sense.
pages that will not be
Sure.
completed, but
Yep.
the expectation is that
Okay.
it is being used.
Got it. Thank you.
Where did all the books go?
Oh, I get mine.
The books.
Oh, these ones? We
Yes,
just-
the
got it.
surplus.
In the trash.
In the trash.
Okay, great. All right, out-of-state conference travel requests. We have the NAEYC annual conference in Orlando, and we have a, I don't know how to say it, conference in Albuquerque. Do we have any questions on those two requests?
Just, one maybe for when, just confirming that all the budgetary is baked into the budgets we've already approved, is that fair?
Yes, so for the first one, it's on their contract, so we have to cover it. So the first one will be from the PD
Okay.
budget, and then the second one will be covered by Title III.
Great, thank you.
Great.
Thanks.
Oh, boy.
Do we have a motion to accept these as presented? Motion by Meg, second by Brendan. All in favor? It's unanimous. Motion passes. All right, and then there's the MHS World Language Department International Trips request, which sounds fantastic.
Yeah, they sound amazing.
Italy, Spain, France, and Portugal, Spain. Do we have any questions on those trips besides wanting to go?
Get your euros now. While
Let's
the
modify
exchange
the,
rate's still somewhat
motion.
favorable.
All right, if we have no questions, do I have a motion to accept the MHS World Language Department International Trips request as presented? Motion by Brendan, second by Derek. All in favor? Unanimous. Motion passes. Oh, we have no new business. That's fine. Do I have a motion to adjourn? Motion by Meg.
We go into executive session.
Nope.
Okay.
Motion by Meg. Second by Brendan. All in favor? The meeting is finished. Thank you.
Great job.
End of the fiscal
Yeah,
year.
no, we don't need to.